going on today, everybody? We're going to do a comparison review of two of the most popular 9mm striker fired guns out there right now. So we got the Glock 19 Gen 5 and the M&P 2.0 compact. So I have quite a bit of experience with both of these, not so much the Gen 5, but I carried a Gen 3 and a Gen 4 19 for a few years, and I carried a 27 Gen 3 for 4 years, probably 3 or 4 years. So Glocks I'm real familiar with. I love Glocks, and I've been carrying the M&P for the last year. So I have experience with both, and I kind of wanted to go over. This isn't going to say, which one I like better and what's, this is more a comparison, because these are two very popular guns that are out there right now. And in my opinion, the biggest of the 9mm striker fired guns, and two of the best. I mean, you have the 320 and the VP9 and the APX, and I mean every manufacturer, the CZP-10C, all those manufacturers right now have made these striker fired guns in the last few years because of this one and this one. And that's all my opinion. I mean, it's pretty, Glock, even though you got the HK guys saying the P7 was the first striker fired gun, which it was, but they didn't continue with it. So Glocks really made striker fired guns what they are today. And that's what most guns, Glock haters will say it's not, but that's what most striker fired guns are based off of. Whether you like it or not, that's the way it is. So let's go over some of the changes they've made, what I like about either or, maybe even which one I prefer. So we'll start. Both guns are cleared. Both of them are 15 rounds, stock magazines. They standard. Glock uses their standard polymer magazines. With what's different for the Gen 5s is they put the orange follower in, like a lot of companies are doing now, which is nice. I mean, that's one thing I kind of like about these magazines over M&Ps or some of the other ones. But when you're actually down low and you can actually look through there and see where you're at, you can see the orange pop up a little bit easier than previous magazines. That's a small change, like most of the changes they made on the Gen 5, but it helped. I mean, it's nice. So both 15 round magazines. You have the M&P one's a metal magazine though, so that's one difference there. Both floor plates on the bottom, about the same size. They both have made a cutout U-notch in the bottom. The Glock's on the front, so when you do have a magazine in, and if there was a problem, you could rip it out. M&P's done the same thing, but it's kind of here on the side. Not sure which. I kind of like the M&P better because that just feels more natural. It's not as profound, so you're not really going to get, but it does give you something to grab. So I like the M&P's better just because of the orientation. It's not in the front, but either or, you're going to get used to it. The Gen 5s, this one is the Ameriglow version, so it comes with the Ameriglow HD sights on it. They have ones with the standard U-shaped Glock sights everybody's familiar with, and then they have one with just standard Glock night sights. Now I prefer these. I don't really care for Glock's original sights. I don't know why. I never got good with them. I mean, I can shoot with them fine, but if I have a choice, I'm gonna switch out the sights on the gun. So when I picked this one up, that was the one I obviously wanted to go with, because I put HD XRs on my M&P, so I kind of like the blacked out rear and a bright, whether it's fiber optic or the orange ring like they've done on the XDs. Those are my favorite kind of sights to shoot with. So I like that there is still a tritium insert, but during the day it's blacked out. That's the same way. So Ameriglows kind of went with the same design on these. They still are blocked in the front, so if you had to rack with a shoe or something like that, you could. And you also, same on the actual Trigicons, but it's more it's more announced there. It's a lot higher up, so you can get a better purchase on it with whatever you're trying to rack it against. Both guns have ambidextrous slide stops. That's the new thing for the Gen 5 Glock, and M&P's got it here too. The Glock's more easy actually to use though, so if you do have to use a lot of them, the manufacturers are putting the slide stops on there. They're not very easy to use, and I'll even include the M&P in that. But I'm not left-handed, so it doesn't really bother me. I'll never use it. Both reversible mag catches, so if you needed to reverse them, you can. One of the differences with the Gen 5 Glock versus Gen 4 is they flared the magazine well, slightly for quicker loading. So you can see it's flared out a little bit, which kind of helps get it in there quicker. M&P, nothing like that on this one. You got their takedown tool that they put in the bottom of the grip plug. Let's see what else we got. So the Gen 5s, they've added this I forget what it's called, MPC coating to the slide. It's supposed to be the toughest coating available. And so far this gun's had around 500 rounds through it and was carried quite a bit. And it doesn't have a lot of wear on the slide yet. So seems like the coating's holding up, especially compared to like your 42s, 43s. The last ones I had, they were scratched up after just like a day of my dry fire practice, just from unholstering and reholstering. They were pretty marred up. Let's see, M&P differences between the 2.0 and the 1.0 is that they've added serrations or scallops to the front of the slide. They've contoured the slide differently, which is nice. And then this aggressive grip texture they put on it, this is what I like. So grip versus the Gen 4, it's nice, it's fatter. But as far as actual texturing goes, I have to give that to the M&P because I like that sandpapery type grip. I've used to put Talon granulated grips on every one of my guns that I carried. So I really like that. There's no need for those grips. In fact, it's almost can be a little too rough, but you know, it's not nothing you can't deal with. Some people don't like it. Some people they'll wrap it with rubber talons, or they'll have somebody sand it down or stipple it. But I don't see the need to do that. So let's see, Glock with the Gen 5 has put in their new Glock Marksman barrel, they call it. It's still the polygonal rifling, but they've refined it to where it's more accurate. They've crowned the barrel a little bit too, but it's still advised not to use lead through the Glock barrels. So that's one of their changes. On the insides, well, since I got the Glock open, see the recoil spring's the same. They did change the firing pin block. Stumbled on that. They changed the firing pin block to the 42 and the 43 style, which I guess would be for their trigger pull, to help with the trigger pull. They've changed the trigger a little bit. Now to go against that, we'll talk about triggers on both these guns. Let me get her back together. The trigger on the M&P, or in the Glock, let me grab something real fast. We'll check do some measurements here and see where they're at. So what's different? A lot of people, they like it, but I don't know how I feel about it yet. You have the trigger's nice, it's smooth, it's still about the same weight, but it's kind of all one pull. So when you pull back, you never really get that break, or that, not the break, but the wall that you get with a lot of guns. So you might like that. The reset's decent if you go for that and you look into that. But if you see, you don't, I can kind of get that wall if I try, but it's not as pronounced as, say, like the M&P. The M&P, I know exactly where it's going to stop, where it's going to break every time, which is another big upgrade from the 2.0s on the M&Ps, because the old M&P triggers, they had almost no reset. You couldn't feel the reset at all. So now it's a lot more pronounced. You can hear it, you can feel it. So if you're somebody that tries for the reset, that's one of the biggest upgrades to the 2.0. So it does have a better trigger in it. So besides, I don't like the hinge style triggers like this as much. Just kind of a personal preference. I do like the way Glock does their triggers better. But in this, I'm going to say M&P has the better trigger. Now, that's no surprise. I never had a problem with the Glock trigger. I don't really change triggers out that much. I can shoot with them, with or without a better trigger in it. I will lighten it. I could put an Apex in this and it'd be nice, because Apex triggers and M&Ps are sweet, and they make it, I mean, it's just awesome with the way it shoots. But since I carry these guns, I don't personally want to switch the trigger out. Let's go ahead and do a pull weight on these and see what we can get. For some reason, this always wants to mess up on me. I don't push that button right. There we go. So it says 11 pounds. That's not right. So let's try again. We'll get an average. About three point or three. So it's hovering around the same area. So they're saying it's about 3 pounds, and I think that's part of it, not having that wall. I don't believe that's 3 pounds at all. It seemed more like your standard Glock triggers now. And gotta get it in the right spot here. Let me start that again. Four, 6. That's probably more like it. Let's try to do a few more readings, see what average we can get. 5.1. 4.9. So I'm gonna say the average around 4, 4.5. 3.15. So let's see what the average came out to on that. It said the average was 3 pounds. So that's why these things aren't the most accurate out there. I think this trigger kind of gives it. I mean, it's a good feeling trigger, but let's see what the M&P has. Four. I don't know if this is, somebody else has this Lyman trigger gauge and you have the issues that I do. Let me know so it's not something that's a problem with this. 4.2. So this is going to average right around 4 pounds, which is about right. So I'm going to say it's around 4 pounds. So both of them are around the 4 pound mark. But they just have different brakes. Like I said, the M&P, you got the wall, so that whole take up is there. Boom, brake. The Glock, it's all kind of one pull. It doesn't really have that wall that you hit. So that's enough about the triggers. Put that up for a second here. So next, let's do a few measurements here and just show you. So if you guys are comparison, which one to get, you have a rough idea. If you haven't got to hold both of them, your best option is, though, if you are looking into purchasing either one of these, that you go to the range, see which one you like better, because if you like Glock, you're gonna like the Gen 5. If you don't like Glock for some reason, you're gonna want the M&P. You always hear they've changed the finger grooves, which some like, some don't. If it hits you wrong on the Gen 4, the finger grooves, then you're really gonna like this. But the biggest thing you hear about Glock, what all the Glock haters say, is that they don't like the grip angle, and they can't shoot it. They can't even pick up a Glock because it feels so god awful in the hands. I've shot hundreds of different pistols, and I seriously can't think of one gun that I've picked up and just said, oh, that's awful. I can't shoot that. I can't, I could say, maybe I don't want to keep that and carry it all the time, but even then, like, the gun is made to grab and point and shoot. I don't see how people come up with that the angle is so funky that they can't shoot well with it. And Glocks suck because of their grip angle. I mean, it's just the most fucking ridiculous thing I've ever heard. So that's, of course, my opinion now. They both have different back straps you can switch out. The M&P more comes up to the front too, so it's not just the back. It's got kind of a side panel with it too. This is the standard that comes factory. There's no grip on here because I have pretty small hands. So I will say that the M&P fits better because the grip is smaller, or it's thinner. So when I get my hand, I can get it in there. I can get a better purchase on it. And that's always been a thing with Glocks, but I still get a good grip. I mean, it feels good in the hand. It's no different than me picking up a 1911 over there, and they both feel good in the hand. I'm not gonna say they're all so awful I don't want to shoot it. I mean, it's asinine. But that's a whole nother story, and people are gonna have their comments and chime in of why they fucking hate Glocks, and the VP9's so much better. You know what? I've had 2 VP9s, good guns. They raved about the trigger, but I really didn't think it was that much better than anything else I've ever shot. To be all the way honest, the PPQ has the best striker fired trigger that I've felt out of the box, along with Mechanic. The M&P 2.0 has really stepped it up too, but it's still kind of gritty and rough, but I like it. It's a shootable trigger. I can still hit the bullseye. So, where are we at? So we did grip. Let's go ahead and let's put magazines in. Kind of knock these upside down. See where they compare, because the M&P, this is what, when they made this 2.0 compact, this gun is what they were aiming for. No matter what you want to say, they were comparing it to the Glock 19, the most popular carry gun there is. So. Let me get them lined up here in the back, and we'll see. Now, you'll be able to tell from the top, but the M&P is just a slight, maybe not a 1/16 of an inch higher here at the height-wise. Length-wise, make sure they're lined up. Just needs to come back just a little bit. The Glock, kind of, because the barrel protrudes just a little bit longer, so not nothing you're gonna ever notice. But the frame on the M&P is thicker too, so let's see if I can get a decent, so you see what I'm talking about. See how much the M&P comes down compared to the Glock. The frame is just thicker, wider. That wouldn't be width, that'd be height wise for the frame. So they're both about the same overall. Let's do a little bit of slide. So the smallest part of the slide on the M&P, you're about 900th of an inch. The Glock, you see it doesn't go down, so let's see. You're about 1/10 of a thousand more, 7 thousandths or 17 thousandths more larger. So something you're really gonna notice? No, because if you see how it's contoured up here, if I go all the way to the bottom, you're at about 11 thousandths, an inch and 100. Sorry, I can't read the measurements very well for some reason. I don't know why I'm stumbling over that. So they're really The contour's nice on the M&P, but if you look at them like this, the Glock's just a little wider, but the M&P's got that contour, so it makes it nice. Let's do your frame. I know we have a thicker frame on the Glock. You got about 190, 183. And the M&P you're working with 126, 25. So a little bit, 200 or 300 thousandths shorter, smaller, thinner on the grip, and that's why I think I get a better purchase on it. But overall, I can shoot them both well. So next, let's see, what do we want to talk about? Maybe one of the other Gen 5 differences they've rounded up the front here on the Glock. And if you look closely, they didn't do it on the frame, which isn't that big of a deal, but people were throwing a fit over it. But it wouldn't take nothing but 3 seconds worth of filing to make that nice, and you can't, if you can see what I'm talking about, you hit that part on both sides. So not that big of a deal. You really can't notice unless you're really overlooking it real fine, but you know, people always got to find something to gripe about with your guns. So that's something else I was going to go over. The M&P 2.0 serrations, I like them better. These up here don't really mean much unless you're doing a bunch of press checks. They have extended the steel in the frame up towards under the dust cover more to help with recoil, so it doesn't flex as much. That's something Glock's always done, so they've kind of copied that, just upgraded their guns. So what else do we want to say? I mean, these are both great guns. I like shooting them both. I love the 2.0 compact. Wouldn't mind even having the 4-inch model or the 3.8, whatever it is. This one did. The only thing with M&Ps is you could, if you wanted, call and get the kit and put in a safety. To do that with a Glock, you'd have to take it to a gunsmith and have them put one of their Smith kits or one of their safety kits in. You don't need it. These guns they're striker fired. You don't need a safety. You got a trigger safety. You've got drop safeties on both guns. So, I mean, in case anybody's wondering, the safety, see the lever, you gotta push that lever, because if you're in here on the side, it won't let the trigger pull. Same with the M&P, it's just different. You gotta have your finger all the way on so it pushes that notch up and it doesn't hit the frame. So if you try to grab it up here, something grabbed it up there, it's not gonna pull. That's two of the differences on those. Let me see what else I can think of real quick, finish up this video. Yeah, they're both great guns. I mean, you have so many striker fired 9mm this size gun out there, the VP9 and the CZ, and the APX doesn't get mentioned much because it's kind of a bastard child of all of them. Nobody really likes it, but some people do. But you know, these are your main ones here, and you notice I lost my grip plug. I have it, I just haven't taken it apart to put it back in yet. What else can I say about it? They're takedown on them roughly the same. You got to pull the trigger with the Glock, so safety check, pull the trigger, pull back a little bit, pull your takedown tabs. Of course, barrel and recoil spring, take those out. M&P does the lever. Make sure nothing's in there, pull the trigger, or if you look down in there, you have this little lever, you can flip down that, and you can do it that way, but it's just stupid, and you just pull the trigger, so I don't see the point. So pull it back, you don't pull the trigger first, flip your takedown lever down, get it to line up right about there, pull the trigger, and it's off. So both super simple takedowns in the field. I think Glock's is a little faster, but it's nothing to write home about. I mean, I'm really liking the Gen 5 Glock. I really like that they took the finger grooves away. It feels better in the hand to me. I like everything about it. I've always loved the G19s. It's just one of the best guns you can get. No ifs, ands, or fucking shits about it. That's just the way it is. But you have, once I got this 2.0, I really started to go against my love of Glocks. I mean, I really like this gun. I mean, it's everything about it I like. The only thing is they're bigger controls, so it's not as dehorned as you would say as a Glock. I mean, that's smooth. There's nothing there. You got your takedown or your slide stop, your levers here, and all this kind of extra stuff. Looks nice, but I mean, it does kind of it doesn't really do anything different. Now, full disassembly of these, I have a video on my further on my page of the complete disassembly of this. I haven't done one on the Glock because there's a million Glock videos, disassembly videos, and nobody would watch it. It'd get 2 views, so I haven't made one. I guess if I could, if y'all wanted to, I could do a quick disassembly video on it and get it posted here in the next couple days. So that's pretty much all I got to say about them. I know I'm missing something that I was going to speak on these 2 guns, but hopefully that gives you a comparison and an idea of what both these guns are like. You can't go wrong with either one, and realistically, you can't go wrong with any of the sub $500-600 modern strike and fire guns that are out there. Once again, there's the VP9, the 320, the CZP-10C, the Beretta APX. I mean, the Canics are really coming up strong. I have another video on that, disassembly and a review. Those are great guns also, and there's more and more every day. Trying to think of one. I think that's about all I'll think of off the top of my head. As soon as I end the video, I'll think of more, but you guys know where they're at. So hope everybody enjoyed. If you have any questions, comments, let me know. I'll answer back quickly. If any other guns that you want to see reviewed, let me know, or disassembled, and we'll try to make a video on those. So if you have any questions, let me know. If you like the video, like it, subscribe. We'll make more videos here soon. So thanks for watching.